Alright guys, so some interesting news here. Daniel Dubois has reunited with Don Charles 6 months after Daniel Dubois himself sacked Don Charles as his head trainer. Now look, I am super surprised and I think a lot of you guys are also surprised. So let's have a look at this article that broke the news. Now this is on the DAZN website and it says that, as you can see, Daniel Dubois reunites with trainer Don Charles 6 months after splits. Now, when we go down here, right, it says that Daniel Dubois has reversed his decision to leave Don Charles and is set to reunite with his former trainer 6 months after his loss to Alexander Usyk. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. We get some quotes from the Daniel Dubois team, and this statement is from Riz Khan, who is Daniel Dubois' business manager, and he says, as you can see there, on behalf of Team Dubois, I wish to confirm to the media and all relevant parties that Daniel has decided to resume his professional relationship with Don Charles and his coaching team. Now we go down a little bit. It says that Don Charles and his team guided Daniel Dubois to the world title or world champion status and oversaw the most successful period of his career. Following the defeat to Alexander Usyk, Daniel Dubois took time to reflect on his journey and the emotions surrounding the decision to part ways with Don. And then it says that after careful consideration and discussion with the wider team, Daniel has chosen to reverse the decision. Daniel will now return to working with Don Charles, under whose corner he achieved his greatest accomplishments to date. Wow. Guys, I did not expect this at all. I thought that Daniel Dubois and Don Charles' relationship was well over. I thought it was done. I thought there was no way back for these two to work together. Although this is boxing, this is heavyweight boxing, anything can happen at any time. But I never expected this to happen because Dubois' team, after the whole thing about partying before the Usyk fight, Don Charles went on to TalkSport and he put his dignity and his respect on the line and defended Daniel Dubois. And still, he got sacked. And Don Charles, he got really upset about the fact that he got, sacked. And he did an interview and he talked about the fact that he was, very sad and he was disappointed and that he did not like the decision. And, Don Charles, it felt like he was really taken aback by that decision because I don't think Don Charles himself, had expected that he was going to get sacked by Daniel Dubois or by the Daniel Dubois team, him and his father, after the loss to Alexander Usyk. So I thought that relationship was done and dusted. And of course, we heard that Daniel Dubois was moving on and was going to train with Tony Sims. So that was what, everybody was expecting. And actually, I think I've seen Daniel Dubois in the gym around where Tony Sims trains, and Daniel Dubois was doing some training there. So it is quite interesting to see that Daniel Dubois has reversed his decision to sack Don Charles, to return back to Don Charles. Now, this raises a number of questions to me. A number of questions here. Number one, I have to ask myself here, what has been the discussion between Daniel Dubois and Tony Sims? Because, Tony Sims, I believe, was interested in training Daniel Dubois. So what has been the conversation? Now, one thing that pops to my mind is that Daniel Dubois' father may be a very big part of the reason why Daniel Dubois has gone back to Don Charles, because it was clear that Don Charles was able to work with Daniel Dubois' father. Remember, guys, Daniel Dubois was with Shane McGuigan before he joined with Don Charles. And I think some of the conversation was that his father was really difficult to deal with, right? So Don Charles now coming into the picture when Daniel Dubois was meant to move on from Don Charles and train with Tony Sims, it shows that there was a breakdown of communication. There was a breakdown of ideas. There was something that Tony Sims, as a principled man, did not agree, with about the way Daniel Dubois and his father and the team wanted, him to work with Daniel Dubois. There is something there. And that is the reason why Daniel Dubois has gone back to Don Charles, because guess what? Don Charles is the person that seemingly, as he would put it, knows how to work with Daniel Dubois. That means, in my opinion, Don Charles will take or will listen to whatever Daniel Dubois' father wants to do. And that's how, Don Charles wants to operate in this situation. He wants to listen to Daniel Dubois' father. And, he wants to get the best out of Daniel Dubois. Even if that means that he has to take some things from Daniel Dubois' dad, which other trainers will not take. That is what it seems to me, because there's no way that all of a sudden Daniel Dubois will come back and his manager will put out this statement saying that Daniel Dubois has reversed his decision to sack Don Charles and he wants to reunite and work with Don Charles again. This is very, very strange to me. I did not expect it. What I thought was Daniel Dubois was going to be, in his next fight, he's going to have Tony Sims in the ring. That's what I was expecting. So, having Don Charles and Daniel Dubois reunite again seems that there was something wrong. Something happened during that negotiation during the early, working together between Daniel Dubois and Tony Sims. Something went wrong there. There's a break in that relationship. And for me, as I said, I think it's only one person here. And that is Daniel Dubois' father, who, according to, people that talk about how much he's involved in that relationship, that he doesn't really want to let go. He wants to be part of Daniel Dubois' team and he wants to have a say in what Daniel Dubois is doing. And for me, I think Tony Sims is probably thinking, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want nothing to do with Daniel Dubois and his father. And I'm happy for Daniel Dubois to leave the camp if his father is going to be heavily involved in this. And I think this is where it's coming from. And then you have, Don Charles, who would accept to work with Daniel Dubois because Don Charles would accept the things that other trainers would not accept from Daniel Dubois' father. So it's quite interesting the way, this thing has gone 360 here, right? Or 180, however you want to put it. But it's gone back together again. This relationship has come back together. And look, I think I've been on record saying that I did not mind Daniel Dubois and, Don Charles working together because I think Daniel Dubois responded to a lot of the teachings of Don Charles. I think Don Charles, got the best out of Daniel Dubois. We knew that Daniel Dubois has deficiencies when it comes to his mental fortitude and overcoming certain challenges in the ring. And I think in all actualities and in all truth, Don Charles did well with Daniel Dubois. So I wasn't surprised, but I knew that Don Charles was going to get sacked when Dubois lost. And I wasn't surprised. But I am surprised that they're back together because I thought that Don Charles had gone on record saying that he wasn't happy with that decision. He felt betrayed. He was disappointed. So it's quite interesting to see that these two are back together. And for me, there's only one thing here, and that is Daniel Dubois' father is probably the reason why Tony Sims has decided not to work with Daniel Dubois. Guys, get in the comment section and let me know what you think about this breaking news. The news right now, Daniel Dubois reuniting with Don Charles. What do you think about it? What do you make of it? What do you think is the reason why Dubois' relationship with Tony Sims did not blossom? Get in the comment section and let me know.